Welcome everyone to Your Daily Writing Habit. If you are writing a book or thinking about it, or maybe you started writing a book, but you don't really know how to get it done, you are in the right place. Good morning, everyone. I'm your host, Christine Whitmarsh. If you're looking for me online, look for Christine Inc. INK, like that stuff we write with. Each day, I'm sharing with you the writing habits I've learned over my 21 years as a ghostwriter, book coach, and author. I have found that three things in particular have a huge impact on your success as an author, and they can turn someone who barely sees themselves as a writer into a published book author. Those three things are writing fundamentals, productivity, and mindset habits. So here today on Your Daily Writing Habit to talk about her brand new memoir, Metaxa Stars, is Greek author Zika Metaxa. Here's more about Zika. Zika Metaxa grew up in an internationally known family spirits business founded by her ancestors in 1888. As a marketer, she traveled the world promoting the family spirit as a member of the family business and then for the multinational company that acquired the Metaxa brand. After becoming a mom, Zika left a career in marketing, advertising, and retail and turned her attention to more intimate creative pursuits. She first penned a creative book in her native Greek language, and her new book, brand new, awesome new book, is an English language memoir called Metaxa Stars, The Evolution of a Greek Spirit Within Generations. It shares stories and lessons about Zika's experience growing up Metaxa. She is currently developing her third book, such a prolific author. Welcome, Zika.
Hello, Christine. So good to talk to you again.
Yes, I'm so happy. And yeah, which I should disclose, we should both disclose to our audience that Zika is one of my awesome book coaching clients. And I always look forward to our Zooms where we connect just magically through technology. We connect Reno, Nevada, and Greece, which has been like so super cool.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
yeah, two different completely times of day, which is always fun figuring that out. I have clients all over the world, so that's part of the fun. I feel like I travel all over the world. I don't even need to get dressed. It's great.
Yes.
So first of all, tell us about the family distillery, the family spirits business that you were essentially born into. When did it start? Who started it? And how were your direct family members involved?
Okay, thank you for this, Christine. So the distillery was brought to life in 1888 by my great-grandfather at the time. It was just after the Second World War in Greece with the Germans at the time. And it went from generation to generation. I actually am the fourth generation. Um, as they usually say in marketing, and it was in our case, the third generation is usually the most successful one. It has been proven statistically. And indeed, the third generation was my father and my uncle, the two brothers, my grandfather's two sons. And it was at their time in the 1960s to 70s where the business really took off and bloomed. So it started gradually after the war, in the late 1940s, and then in the 60s it really expanded to the 70s, and it became a very well-known international brand, which was a big accomplishment for two brothers from Greece to make
Yeah.
a Greek product international, due to their very hard work, of course. And then in 1989, the company was sold to a multinational company due to reasons of the economy at the time. And my father and uncle was foreseeing that it would, the difficult times that came later. So
Mhm.
actually it was a very good timing. It was at its very best. So this is more or less I would say, the outline of the story of the
Yeah.
Metaxa brandy.
That's good. So such interesting things here. And we have that background we talked about in our very first conversation, how we both kind of come from
Yes,
old family businesses. So that was something that kind of
exactly.
bonded us.
Exactly. Yes, yes.
So what was it like for you? See, I didn't have this experience. I think some of my listeners know that I'm from the Pitco Fryolator family, the French fry machine you see with the basket in all the fast food restaurants. But I didn't have that experience. It was already sold and whatever. My mom had the experience of growing up as that was happening. So what was it like for you, being a kid growing up in like such a well-known family business?
Yes, and also bear in mind that I mean you were born and raised in the States. For me, it was very different,
Mhm.
because Greece in those days, many years ago, was like a little village, you know, in Europe compared to the United States. So everybody knew everyone, especially in the 60s and 70s. Um, Everybody was talking about everyone. So it was really, I would say, a small little village and not, you know, a big country. So everybody pinpointed to each other, and they knew this is, for example, the Metaxa daughter. This is the Papadopoulos daughter. This is I don't know who. And because the brand was becoming famous in those years when I was growing up, as I was a teenager and onwards, um, people were associating me with the brand, and sometimes they didn't even they couldn't believe that I was one of the daughter of the Metaxas. They thought I was kidding them. I was making up a story or something, you know. I would get the answer, you know, are you from the Metaxa brandy? I'm like, yes. Oh, yes, okay, right. And I am the Queen of England. I don't know, something like that.
Oh, that's funny.
It was, of course, I was very proud, but on the other hand, it was also, to answer your question, it was like I would say, in a nice way, a burden for me. I was feeling very responsible towards this image, let's say.
Mhm. That's really interesting. Yeah. Love all these stories. That's one of my
Yes.
favorite parts about your book. So let's talk about your eventual career in marketing and advertising. So at some point, you were working for your family company, and like you said, it was acquired by a multinational spirits corporation. By the way, for the listeners, this is the same corporation that represented Smirnoff and Bailey's and Malibu, so stuff that here in the States we're familiar with. Very impressive. So you were the
J&B
only
whiskey,
member of
yes.
your family that stayed on board with the company after it was sold. So what was that like?
Okay, that was really difficult, especially in the beginning. The first manager who came, who was a man who's not in life anymore anyway, because they were, let's say, suspicious towards me. I don't know. They thought I came in to steal their secrets or something, as I was the only one from member of the family, you know, being around. They thought I would be snooping around, maybe.
It's
But the
funny.
only reason I wanted to stay on was because I really was intrigued by how different the approach would be of a multinational company compared to a family company. And it was an amazing challenge. And in the end, it was like a master's degree for me. I learned so many things with the multinational company in those years I was with them. Once the initial, you know, introductory period passed, and they realized I was there not to have fun or to, you know, steal secrets, but I was really there to learn. It went on more peacefully.
That's so
But
interesting.
yes, but it was really a big university for me in
Yeah.
many ways.
I think that's one of my favorite universities. That's the university of how I've learned most of what I know.
Yes, you see,
University.
yes, exactly.
So now, flashing forward to present time, what made you decide to write a memoir? What inspired that decision about your experiences growing up with Toxa?
Yes, as you well know, it didn't start as a memoir. I was intrigued by the women in my family, my ancestor women, my great grandmother and her what was it, her in-law,
Mhm.
because for the time being, for those years in the 1930s and back, they were very strong-headed and strong-minded and big personality women. So I thought I would start writing about the Metaxa women, beginning with them and going on, and giving a bit of the Metaxa history, let's say more the industrial history of the Metaxa. But of course, we already have a book like that in the family. It has been written by my father with all the details when the industry was built, what started, everything is there. It's more like an encyclopedia. So I didn't want to go in the same path. Excuse me. Then I thought I would focus on the women, as I said to you. But then again, it was becoming a little bit historical. And as I was writing, you know that again, everything changed. I started looking at things from a different perspective, from my own perspective, and I put more of myself in it, and it totally changed. So I totally changed what I was initially writing, And I think it came out more on a more personal, of course, and more from the heart.
Yeah.
So
And
it
that's
became
such
a memoir. It was not intended to be a memoir, but it became sort of a memoir.
And that's such a great lesson for our listeners now, because I've seen this with many clients where books that start as maybe like a business book, or they want to do, a serious professional, or I don't know, people have a different impression of memoirs than sometimes what is the truth of
Yes.
it. And we all have stories to tell, and a memoir can be so many different things. It can be a business memoir. A memoir can be a self-help book, which is closer to yours. A memoir can be a straight memoir. A memoir can be, it's always, I find, it's a memoir and it's something else, but some people don't initially think that, and they're so focused on the something else that they forget, where it's like, well, if you put your personal story in there, it adds a whole layer of beauty and depth and personality and texture, and it adds all these things. So yes, you can still deliver the message that you want to, whether it's a self-help message or a business message, or whatever it is that you're trying to convey. If you add the memoir element, it just really, really brings it to life. So I loved watching you kind of realize that in your author experience.
Yes.
It was fun. So I know I have my absolute favorite stories in your memoir, but I want to hear about what your favorite stories are in your book.
I think we have one common favorite
Yes,
from the very
we
beginning.
do.
Yes, we do. It's about the flaming vodka shots. Correct.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. The flaming vodka shots, definitely my favorite.
Yes. Okay. And now, maybe your audience will be wondering what has vodka got to do with the brandy? But it was exactly one of the vodkas um, that were in the under the multinational umbrella of
Yeah.
products. And I was trying, as I was a brand manager for the product then, to um, present to the chief, let's say to the big manager, the top manager
Yeah.
who came from England. I was trying to make a presentation. Excuse my English, but I'm Greek. I was trying to make a presentation in order to acquire more budget for the advertising of that vodka. And we had thought of everything with my team, and we couldn't come up with something which we thought was spectacular. And at those times, we had a fashion a trend in Greece. People would drink a lot of shots in the bars, which were like burning shots, like flaming shots. I don't know how
Yes.
exactly to
Yeah,
describe
they
it.
had the fire on them. Yeah.
But obviously they were not vodka. They were other kind of liquors, which did ignite, to say so. But anyways, a barman told me a trick how I could actually do this with vodka. And I did, but there was a little problem when the vodka would not go, and I tried to blow off the vodka at the end of the presentation, and it wouldn't go down.
Yeah,
You know,
once you ignited,
and
yeah,
now I
once you put
almost
the
set
fire,
I
yeah,
set the whole place in fire,
yeah.
And then, of course, everybody was intrigued and wanted to try this drink, but I had to tell them not to drink it because they would be poisoned.
And wasn't it a trick? I think didn't you put like straight
Alcohol.
alcohol on top of it? That's what
Alcohol,
made it go on
exactly.
fire? Oh my
Yes,
God.
alcohol. Alcohol and alcohol. It did do the fire, of course.
I mean, we know that, Greek women have fiery spirits, but to like literally light a fire that almost goes to the ceiling and lights the building on fire, I think that's taking the Greek personality to a whole different level.
That's true, totally. Literally.
I have a fiery personality. I'm going to light your building on fire now. Oh my gosh, I love that story. And of course, at the heart of the book, you have some really incredible personal development, some self-help and growth messages for the reader. So tell
Yes.
us the main lessons that you want readers to take away from your book.
Okay, the main lesson, as you said, it came through my personal growth over the years and working with myself. I realized and I noticed everywhere around me and within my family, of course, that we tend to repeat the same mistakes or patterns previous generations do. And I thought that the only way to break this circle and break the change and set us free would be if we could somehow realizing we're doing this and, reset, restart, and to stop doing the same, let's say, mistakes or patterns. usually there are mistakes, but not all patterns are mistakes, of course.
Mhm.
Sometimes there are good patterns which are repeated, but I am focusing on the negative, let's say, patterns, and how to turn negative into positive. That would be the lesson, the main thing in this book
Yeah.
that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah. So many great lessons in there. And it's such an important message because, and it's almost like such a traditional message because I think of how often, especially the younger generations, we turn to, I'm the younger generation, but people turn to social media and the internet to try to find help for their problems when they don't realize that your ancestors and your family members and your parents and your grandparents maybe experience the same problems that you are, and you're trying to reinvent the wheel by asking for help, from strangers or from outsiders, where it's just like if you turn to your family, or even just like you don't even have to turn to them, but you can look at the patterns in your family and learn so
Exactly.
much that maybe you won't learn on like a Reddit board or the internet or something like that.
Yes, that we have a lot of lessons, but in our house, so to speak. It's within us, within our family. We don't need to go to a therapist to read a special book or something.
Yeah.
We have it there, but that's the last place we all tend to look at and seek, advice.
Yeah.
When the first thing we do is not take advice and deny any advice. I mean, I
Yeah.
definitely did that when I was
Yeah.
young.
That's so interesting.
Yes.
So finally, and this is a question I ask everybody who comes on my show, what is your very best habit for success? Whether it doesn't have to be writing, but it can be writing or other, but what's your very best habit to be successful?
That it has to come from within. It has to be your own spirit talking, your
Mhm.
spirit from within. You can't um, do it like you would be tutoring or you would be reading a lesson or something. It has to come from within, definitely. Firstly, and secondly, you have to be consistent. I mean, definitely all your tips helped me in the beginning, especially the little cave and all that. You have to
Okay.
be consistent, because it's one thing having it, but it's another thing maintaining it, and then another thing producing it, as I found out.
What do you think?
That's what I would say. Be truthful and be consistent in
Very
2
good.
words.
Being consistent is a great habit. And I think your bird wants to be a part of this interview.
I know, and they never talked until now.
Oh my goodness, my dog just ran up, got up and ran out of the room. This is a live interview, everybody, as my listeners know. So no, this has been great. So thank you, Zika. And I'm going to put a link in the show notes to Zika's website, which is Metaxa Stars, Metaxastars, metaxastars.com. You can learn more about Zika and her book. You can also go over to Amazon and get a copy, which I would highly encourage everybody to do. So thank you so much, Zika, for being on my show today.
Thank you, Christine, because as I said before, and many, many times, I would never have written this book if it wasn't for you. Thank you, Christine.
Oh, thank you so
Truly.
much. That's love doing what I do, as my listeners know. So, and speaking of my listeners, thank you all for joining me here on Your Daily Writing Habit, where I am helping you write and finish writing an awesome book. Please drop by my Ink Authors group on Facebook. The link is always in the show notes to connect with other authors like yourself, and be sure and let us know what you need so we can all support you. Until tomorrow, happy writing.